Hey guys, my name is Josh McKenna, and this is your Get Started guide to connecting Cloud Firestore or real-time database to your Android application inside of Android Studios. So, in this video, we're going to be looking at what is Cloud Firestore and real-time, and what are their benefits and how do they work. Then finally, I'm going to cover how to fetch data, delete data, and upload data, and edit data, as well as keeping data up to date in real time. So in this video, I have chapters timestamped down below. And if you need to skip ahead because you already understand what I'm explaining, then feel free. In this next chapter of the video, we're going to be looking at what is Cloud Firestore and what is real time and how does it work. So what is Cloud Firestore and real time? Well, these two databases are made primarily for web development and mobile development. These databases actually use a NoSQL approach to the database. In other words, they don't use SQL script like most databases use. So, I'm not going to go into great detail about Cloud Firestore and the real-time database and the theory behind it and how they work. But I'll give you a breakdown structure of all the different details and how it is laid out in the back end. So I have opened here a real-time database and Cloud Firestore here. And I'm going to explain how the structures are broken down. So let's start with Cloud Firestore. So Cloud Firestore is a rebuilt version of real-time database. So it's basically a more up-to-date version with more features and a lot better performance. So let's look at the structures themselves now. So the structures themselves, they're both the same. They have collections, and then inside of collections, they could have fields of data, like so right here. Or inside of a document, these are called documents here. So this here is considered a document, or I like to call it an object. And then inside those objects slash documents, you can have another collection of data. As you can tell, it says start collection of data. So these documents here, these are the IDs. These can be generated automatically, or you can create them yourself uh, manually. So what are the differences between them? Uh, basically, there's a so what are the differences between them? So basically, Cloud Firestore has better better search tools. Like they have a query builder, so you can like search through multiple collections. Unlike real time database, you can't uh, search through multiple collections at the same time. You gotta do a lot more work, and then there's more like a filtering tool, just like SQL. You can do stuff, find where and all that kind of stuff through code and stuff. So it just has a lot more features, and that's why I'm gonna go with Cloud Firestore always. But real-time database is more simple and it allows you to get up-to-date data a lot easier. What is the benefit of using Cloud Firestore in real time? Well, here they are. So, here's why you should add Firebase's databases to your application. First of all, one of the biggest things and most annoying thing about an application that uses an internet connection and it revolves around that internet connection. This application has built-in offline support and it puts it into your application without you having to write a single code to add offline support. This application, as soon as you go offline and you are trying to implement something to the database or add an entity, it will add it to a queue. And then when you're back online next time, it will send it to the database and then voila, it's added to the database. There's no needed code to be added. Okay, so the next feature is even better. I love this. It gives you so much flexibility and it makes it like you could do anything with it. You can make a messenger app. You can just make it live tracking of data just being inserted into the database. It's mind blowing. And here it is. It's real time updates to your application. It's sent automatically to your application if you implement it right. So there's an event listener that will listen for any updates that occur to a certain document or a certain collection of data. And it's super great. In this chapter of the video, I'm going to show you how to create a Firebase project. This is important if you want to use Cloud Firestore or Realtime in your web application or mobile application. So let's go to console.firebase.google.com. Here's where you can create a Firebase project. So we click create project and enter whatever name you want. It could be the application name or just your mom's name. So enter whatever you want. I'll just say my FB project. So here's where you can select if you want to collect analytics about your app. If you do, just click enable. If you don't, we'll just click create project. Okay, step 3 is configuring analytics. Now we got to select our location. I'm going to leave it as the United States. And, and then I'm going to click accept and create project. Once we're here, we're going to go and create our database. So if you're going to create a real-time database, you go right here, and this is where you create it. You go and click create database. But I'm not going to go with that one. So we're going to go with Cloud Firestore database. This would be this one there, one above. So, and then I click create database. And here you can choose your location of where you want it. I'm going to go with stick it with the United States. Click next. And then you want to start testing mode if you want to be able to write and read from it. So if you don't set it to that, you won't be able to test and see if the data is working or not. But you'll have to do extra steps and then set up permissions for each user and all that. But if you just want to get right into testing mode and all that, just click start in testing mode. Now that the database is created, I'm going to show you how to set up security rules for per user instead of having to use test mode. So this is where you want to go. I'm not going to get into detail with it because this is not a video tutorial on the built-in authentication tools that's built into Firebase. But this is where you can select your provider, which one they can use, and email, and that would be the ID of the user ID of the account. So that's how that works, and then you just got to build it into your application. So now that we got the database created in Firebase, we need to connect our database to our application. Now open Android Studio, and we'll sign into the same Google account that we signed into the console for Firebase. So go up to this top right corner and then click add account. And then we're going to add account, and I'm going to select the account that I created the Firebase on. I click allow. And not sure what. And it's successfully added to your project. So now we go back to the project, and it is successfully added. Now that we got that added, now we're going to add the database. So that's just connecting your Google account. So, and now click Firebase, and now we have this all uploaded. And now we got to go to select whatever database that you created earlier. I'm going to go with Cloud Firestore, and then I'm going to go get started with Firestore, and then we click connect Firebase. And then I select the one that I want, which is not this one. is this account. So then we go to and then click connect. So now that your Android Studio project is connected to your Firebase Android app, we want to go back to the uh, Android Studios. We're back in Android Studios. We want to click add the Cloud Firestore SDK to your app, or it would say add the Realtime SDK to your app, something like that. And then you just click add, and then these here will be added to your build.grade. Would this be added, and this would be added to your build.grade. Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff that you would have to add manually if you're in a different IDE like IntelliJ or something like the fact that one. And then you just click accept, and then it should download. You see it's building down here, and now it's added. And it also gives you instructions how to add and read data. You can look at that and figure it out for yourself, but I'll also show it how it works, and I'll also explain everything. So now that we got everything connected to Android Studio and to your application, now we can interact with the databases. Okay, now to interact with real-time Firebase, you want to get an instance of your database by calling the Firebase database.getInstance, and then save it to Firebase. And for Cloud Firestore, you want to reference a Firebase Firestore object, and this is the code you want to use. Is Firebase Firestore get instance, and that allows you to interact with the databases. Okay, in this chapter of the video, we're going to be looking at how to insert data into Cloud Firestore and real-time database. To get started, let's talk about what can be uploaded. First of all, the first two things I only know that can be uploaded is hash maps and objects. There might be a few other ways, but you can look into the docs and find out yourself. My favorite way is to upload them as objects. My best recommendation when uploading objects is don't include an ID field. This is because if you include an ID field, you'll have an issue when uploading to the database as an object, or even as a hash map, for example. It will insert it as a field and not as the ID up here. Now that we got that out of the way, we can take a look at real-time database first. So real-time database, of course, you got to have your base database entity, and then call it, and I called it student DB ref. And then there I installed the instance. So I scroll down to here, and this is the code that I used to upload data to the database. We're uploading into a collection of students or a child document. Yeah, a collection of students, and then we're pushing it. That saves it to the database, and we set the value that we're pushing to students. Then finally, for Cloud Firestore, you still have to have a Firebase.firestore reference. I called it DB, and I installed Firebase, called the Firebase.firestore class, and I called the method .getInstance. And once you have that, you scroll down, and there's this .collection, and then you get the collection name, which would be very similar to this, and this would be, instead of jerseys, it would be student. And then you put .add student. These methods down below are optional, but they are ran when the student or object is either successful of being added, and this is if it's failed to add to the database. They're the same methods for both. As you can tell, if I do /set add on access listener. In this chapter of the video, we're going to look at how to read data from the database. Let's begin by looking at real time. Here, you got to reference your Firebase database instance. And once you have that instance, you do .get reference and the .child. This would be the name of your collection slash document, or like if you want to refer it to as an entity table, like it is in a SQL database, but that's not the proper name for it. So what I'm referring to is what it shows here. This be what it's referring to. This uh, collection of students. So and then it gets the ID, which would be one of these things here, and then I do doc get. And then here you put dot add on complete listener. And then you just type new complete on listener and it should come up there and you should be able to just click tab and it'll generate all of this here. But except for like this part here. So and then you would say check if this task was successful or not. So if it was not successful, I chose to put it out as an error. But if it was successful, we save it to the object and so we can edit it for later. And then for Cloud Firestore, to read data from there, of course, you got to get your instance of Firebase Firestore. And once you have that saved to a variable, you can reference it down here. And then you get, so now you need to make a document reference entity, save that as an entity, and then that must equal your database reference, and you do dot collection, and then the name of course, the collection of the things you're wanting to get from, and then so you do students in my case, and I put document, and then inside of the document method, you put the ID, which would be one of these kind long IDs here, and then that should fetch data from the database. So again, and to get the data, you do document dot get dot add on success listener, just like the real-time database, and it should automatically generate these methods. And then you go document snapshot to object, and you put this class name, which is student, and then put dot class, and this will convert it to a student object. But if it failed, it'll show this message here. Okay, in this next chapter of the video, we're going to take a look at how to update data. So there's two ways of updating the data. You can either override the whole document or you can override fields inside the document. So we're going to look at real time first. So the first way we're going to look at updating data is overriding the whole document. So this here is a method that overrides the whole document. So all you got to do is reference your Firebase database entity and then do .get reference .child and then put your document collection of name for the documents, the collection of documents you have it, and then put the ID of the document, and then you put set value, and you pass in the student object. Okay, and then to update a specific field inside document, all you got to do is the same thing, reference Firebase database, and then once you have that reference, .get reference .child, and then the name of the collection of documents, and then put .child ID, and then, so you get your ID that you want to update, and then put .child, and then the field's name of that you want to update, and I'm putting it to set a name of the student, to update the name of the student. Okay, for Cloud Firestore, to update a document and just override everything, all you got to do is grab an instance of uh, Firebase Firestore, and then you reference that, and then you go to and then you put dot collection, the name of the collection of documents, and then get the ID of the document, and so right there, and then you get set student, and that should override everything. And then you do that add on successor, and then start typing this out, and it should automatically fill, and then you should be able to right click on it and then generate this, and the same thing for this. And these are just when it's on success of submitting the data to the database, it will run whatever's in here. Same thing for this. Okay. And then a similar idea for updating a field inside of a document. All you got to do is reference Firebase Firestore and entity, and then dot collection, and then get the name of the collection of documents, and then you get your ID, and then do dot uh, update on, and then you put the name of the field, and then put the value you want to save into the field, and then you put dot add on success listener just as above, and it should be able to generate that automatically for you, and then you put whatever you want inside here and here, and then of course this is if it fails, and this is if it's on success of submitting it to the database. Okay, for the last chapter of this video, I'm going to show you how to delete data from the database. So let's begin with real-time database. Uh, Most efficient and easiest way to delete data from the database is just directly referencing the object by getting the instance of a Firebase database entity, and then dot reference, dot child, and then putting the name of the collection of documents, and then put the ID of that document, and then put dot remove value. You can also do slash set value null, and that will also delete from the database. And then finally for Cloud Firestore, all you got to do is have a reference to Firebase Firestore object, and then you do dot collection, and then put the name of the collection of documents, and then put dot document dot key, and all you got to do, easiest thing, is put dot delete, and then put your obviously generated uh, uh, methods here for listening if it was successful to delete it, or if it failed to delete it. And well, that's all you got to do. So, if you made it all the way through this video and you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing and liking, because it would greatly help me out. Because this was my second take on creating this video. I scrapped my first video completely and recreated this one because my sound quality was trash. It was a bunch of errors, and it was just didn't have that much information, and it was super long for the amount of information I had in it. This video has a lot more, and so if you have any questions, concerns, or just any comments about this video, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys all later because I'm going to bed. It's quite frankly 4 a.m.